जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रजनन्दवन्दन यशोदानन्दन व्रजनन्दनन्दन यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधमाधव जय कुञ्ज बिहारी जय राधमाधव जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Giridhari Jaya Radha Giridhari Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jai Shila Prabhupada ki Jai Shila Gurudev ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So we are reading from the Prabhupada Charitamrita. It is from my book is volume 2 and page number 137. Chak, the Swami was sitting there, and in the morning he would look not shiny and brilliant, but very withdrawn. He looked as if he could sit like a stone, maybe forever. His eyes were only two tiny slits of glistening light. He took out his cymbals and played lightly on the edge, on one, two, three, and he began to sing in a deep voice that was almost atonal in its intervals. It was a melody, monotone that did not express happiness or sadness, a timeless chant that told no story. We chanted along with him as best we could, but several times Swami Ji stopped and said softly. After about 30 minutes of chanting, we stopped. Then he opened his eyes wider and said, "We must chant softly because sometime the neighbors are complaining." After singing, the Swami would give one of the boys a copy of Dr. Radha Krishnan edition of Bhagavad Gita to read aloud from. He would correct their mispronunciation and then explain each verse because there were only a few people present. There were always ample time for everyone to discuss the philosophy. The class would sometimes run an hour and a half and cover 3 or 4 verses. Still, Swamiji mentioned that mangoes were the king of all the fruit, and he even mentioned that they were not easily available in this country. It occurred to me that I could bring him mangoes. There was a store on First Avenue that always kept a stock of fresh mangoes in the cooler. I began a regular habit. I began a regular habit. Every day after getting off work, I would purchase one nice mango and bring it to Swamiji. Wally. Some of the boys would say, "I am doing this for the Swami." So I went to him and said, "Is there something I can do for you?" So he told me I could take notes in his class. The boys were sure that their services to Swamiji was spiritual, devotional service. By serving the spiritual master, who was the representative of Krishna, you were serving Krishna directly. One morning, Prabhupada told Howard that he needs help in spreading the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Howard wanted to help, so type he offered to type the Swamiji's manuscripts of Srimad Bhagavatam. Howard, the first words of the first verse said, "O the king," and the naturally I wondered whether O was the king's name and the kings stood in opposition. After some time, I figured out that "O King" was intended instead. I didn't make the correction without his permission. "Yes," he said, "change it then." I began to point out a few changes and inform him that if he wanted, I could make correction. That I had a master's in English and taught last year at Ohio State. "Oh, yes," Swamiji said, "do it, put it nicely." He was giving them the idea of devotional service. A devotee may not be perfect at first, he said, but if he is engaged in the service, once that service has begun, he can be purified. Service is always there in the material world or in the spiritual. But service in the material world could not begin satisfaction to the self. Only bhakti purifies self, a service, and service rendered to Krishna could do that. And the best way to serve Krishna was to serve the representative of Krishna. They picked it up quickly. It was something you could do easily. It was not difficult like meditation. It was activity. You did something, but you did it for Krishna. They had seen Swamiji's response to the Baudi bum who had come with a gift of toilet paper. "Just see," Swamiji had said. "He is not in order," but he thought, "let me give some service." But service had to be done voluntarily, out of love, and not by force. Polly, Swamiji once asked me, "Do you think you could wear the Vaishnava tilak when you are on the street?" I said, "Well, I would feel funny doing it, but if you want me to I will. And Swamiji said, no, I don't ask you to do anything you don't want to do. Steve, one day when I brought my daily mango to him, he was in his room surrounded by devotees. I gave him many, I gave him my mango and sat down and he said, very good boy. The way he said it, as if I were just a tiny little boy, made everyone in the room laugh and I felt foolish. Swamiji, however, then changed their mood by saying, no, this is actually love. This is Krishna consciousness. And then they didn't laugh. When Howard first volunteered to do editing, he spent the whole morning working in Swamiji's room. If there is any more typing, Howard said, let me know. I could take it back to Mott Street and type there. More, there is a lot more, Swamiji said. He opened the closet and pulled out two large bundles of manuscript tied in saffron cloth. There were thousands of page, single-space manuscript of Prabhupada's translation of Srimad Bhagavatam. Howard stood before them astonished. It is lifetime of typing, he said. And Prabhupada smiled and said, oh yeah, many lifetimes. Please let me know when I have to stop, Prabhu. Um, because of Prabhupada's presence,
So,
uh,
Prabhuji, you can, I mean, if you like, you can stop now. It is up to you.
uh, okay, okay. Thank you so much. Jai Shila Prabhupada ki jai ho. So thank you so much for engaging me in this wonderful service of saying some few words about Prabhupada, Gurudev, and uh, glorifying Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading from um, um, before this. Nashta prayesu abhadresu. Sorry, Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam. Devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirye. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Nar Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. By regular attendance in the class on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to pure devotee, all that is troublesome to heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto personality of Godhead, who is praised with the transcendental song, is established as an irrevocable fact. Um, Today we are reciting from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25 and Slok number 28. Tvam Harir Bhavani Asi Ath वाग रमापतिम विचिन्वती किं मुनिवादरहो वने त्वाद अंग्री कामाप्त समस्त कामम क्वा पदम कोशः पतित करांग्रीत करांग्रीत त्वां हरिर्भवानी असि अथ वागरमापतिं विचिन्वते किं मुनिवादरहो वने त्वादङ्घ्रिः कामाप्तसमस्तकामं क्वापदं कोशपति पतितकराग्रात् त्वां हरिर्भवानी असि अथ वागरमापतिं विचिन्वते किं मुनिवाद्रहो वने त्वादङ्घ्रिः कामाप्तसमस्तकामं क्वापदं कोशः पतितः कराग्रात्. If anyone wants to recite.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandot Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
त्वं हरि भवानि यस्य अतो वाग्रमपतिं विचिन्वति किं मुनिभद्रो वने त्वादङ्घ्रे कम् अप्त समस्तकमम् क्व पद्मकोशपतितकरग्रात् हरे कृष्ण
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I am also trying. Tamrir yoshi yatho vyagramāpatim vichinnati kim muni batraho vane tamangri kamapta samasta kamam kapadma koshaha patita karagra. Hare Krishna.
So we read the synonyms. Could you please bring the synonyms, Prabhu, on the thing? Thank you very much. Thank you. This really helps. Uh, Synonyms, the word to one translations by Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. Tvam, you. Harihi, shyness. Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva. Asi, are. Atha, rather. Vak, Saraswati, the goddess of learning. Rama, the goddess of fortune. Patim, husband. Vichinvati, searching after, thinking of. O Kim, are you? Muni, what? Like a sage. Rahaha, in this lonely place. Vane, in the forest. Tvat angrihi, your feet. Kam, desiring. Apt, achieved. Samasta, all. Kamam, desirable things. Kwa, where is? Padam, kosha, the lotus flower. Patiteha, fallen. Kara, of the hand. Agrat, the from the front portion of palm. Translation by Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai ho. My dear beautiful girl, you are exactly like the goddess of fortune, or the wife of Lord Shiva, or the goddess of learning, the wife of Lord Brahma. Although you must be one of them, I see that you are loitering in this forest. Indeed, you are as silent as great sage. Is it that you are searching after your own husband? Whoever your husband may be, simply by understanding that you are so faithful to him, he will come to the possess all opulence. I think you must be the goddess of fortune, but I do not see the lotus flower in your hand. Therefore, I am asking you where you have thrown that lotus flower. Thank you. Purport by Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai ho. Everyone thinks that his intelligence is perfect. Sometimes one employs his intelligence in worship of Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva, in order to obtain a beautiful wife. Sometimes when one wants to become learned as Lord Brahma, he employs his intelligence in worshipping of the goddess of learning, Saraswati. Sometimes when one wished to become as opulent as Lord Vishnu, he worshipped the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. In this verse, all these inquiries are made by King Puranjana, the living entity who is bewildered and does not know how to employ his intelligence. Intelligence should be employed in the service of Supreme Personality of God. As soon as one uses his intelligence in this way, the goddess of fortune automatically becomes favorable to him. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, never remains without her husband, Lord Vishnu. Consequently, when one worships the Lord Vishnu, he automatically obtains the favor of the goddess of fortune. One should not, like Ravana, worship the goddess of fortune alone, for she cannot remain long without her husband. Thus, her, her other name is Chanchala, or the restless. In this verse, it is clear that Pranjana is representing our intelligence he while he is taking while he's talking with the girl. he not only appreciated the shyness of a girl, but actually become more and more attracted by the shyness. He was actually thinking of becoming her husband and consequently was asking her whether she was thinking of her prospective husband or whether she was married. This is the example of Bogicha, the desire for enjoyment. One who is attracted by such desire becomes conditioned in this material world, and one who is not so attracted attained liberation. Think Puranjana was appreciating the beauty of the girl as if she was she were the goddess of fortune. But at the same time, he was careful to understand that the goddess of fortune cannot be enjoyed by anyone except Lord Vishnu. Since he doubted whether the girl was goddess of fortune, he inquired about the lotus flower she was not holding. The material world is also the goddess of fortune because the material energy works under the direction of Lord Vishnu as stated in Bhagavad Gita. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sa chara charam. The material world cannot be enjoyed by any living entity. If one so desire to enjoy it, he immediately becomes a demon like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, or Kamsa. Because Ravana wanted to enjoy the goddess of fortune, Sita Devi, he was vanquished with all his family, wealth, opulence. One can, however, enjoy the Maya bestowed upon the living entity by Lord Vishnu. The satisfaction of one's senses and desire means enjoying Maya, not the goddess of fortune. शिला गुरुदेव की जय शिला प्रभुपाद की जय ओम ज्ञान तिमिरांधस्य ज्ञानंजन शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरू श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम् श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्विताश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्ता नमस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गे राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लगयते गिरिं यत कृपातम् अहं वन्दे परमानन्दं माधवम् श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण भगवान की जय जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की जय श्री गौरानिताय की जय श्री नरसिंह देव भगवान की जय प्रहलाद महाराज की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय हो थैंक यू सो मच प्रभु जी एंड माता जी and all the assembled Vaishnavas, please accept my humble obeisances. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to open up my confidence in this open forum and say something about the glorification of Gurudev, glorification of Radha Krishna. It is first time I'm doing it, so please bear with me if I miss something or if I break up, or if I stop for a moment to recollect my memories. So please bear with me and tolerate with my, if any mistake, or if anything I end up saying something which is not favorable. So please forgive me. Um, although I am not qualified to say anything, but I am trying to say something, because been spending so many years in Krishna consciousness and doing sometimes just one-on-one, some bits and pieces here and there talking about Krishna, but not done the way I am doing it today. It's my first experience. So, yeah, why I'm doing it? Because as Prabhupada said, something person when engages in a Lilamrita, when we read, he said, when a person engages in a service, then the purification happens. And when the purification happens, then we become empowered by Krishna to for his glorification, for his service. So it is wonderful opportunity. And why I'm doing this preaching? Because when I was reading the Canto 3, the chapter 30, the chapter 6 and the verse 36, where it's clearly moved my heart when I read, it says that we may not be able to remember and understand the whole essence of any sloka, because we are still very conditioned, we are still having very much impurity lying in our heart. But what Prabhupada is trying to say, that if we can um, take some essence, some understanding of the words, some understanding of the purport, some understanding of translation, and we try to glorify in our capacity of the Lord, then what has happened that our mind, our time, our body, our words gets engaged in the service of the Lord, and that engagement becomes chaste, become purified. And what happens if we don't do that? If we don't do that, then the same mind, same time, same intelligence get wasted, become impurified, become unchaste, and then we become like in Puranjana, as he says in this verse. In the Puranjana, he becomes influenced by the external energy of the Lord. My Gurudev says in couple of days back in his a quote, he said that the cloud is an energy of the sun, but the same cloud sometimes covers cover the sun, and we can't see the sun, but the sun does exist in the sky, but we can't see the sun. Why? Because cloud is covering. And what are the clouds? Clouds are the energy of the sun, means it's a part and parcel of the sun, and yet we can't see the sun. Similarly, we are also part, and similarly, the external energy, the Maya of the Lord, that work is also there, and it's covered by illusion, and we can't see the Krishna. So Krishna is there, is working in our life, but we sometimes don't see Krishna. That is our weakness. That is our sometimes the not having enough the spiritual knowledge to discriminate or to understand where Maya is working and where the spiritual energy is working. So this is how we also become Puranjana. No, so in three in and also the Puranjana means the person who enjoys the body, person who enjoys the material external energy of the Lord, no, which is not true to think to do it, but then like a king Prachin Bharisat. Comes from the dynasty of Dhruva Maharaj, and he engaged in a fruitive activity. He engages in a fruitive activity, and when to enjoy to do the same sense gratification. And when Narad Muni sees King Prachin Barisad engages in a fruitive activity, and that is not helping him to uplift his spiritual um, being, so Narad Muni becomes very, very compassionate on him, and is asking question in the same canto same canto chapter. I think slok number 4. He's asking, what is your goal of life and what you're trying to achieve by doing the fruitive activity. Then he says the ultimate goal of the life is to become um, liberated from the material miseries and become and attain the eternal happiness. But the activities which you are involving, which is not going to help you to become liberated and achieve the attain the uh, eternal happiness. This is the core message that he was trying to give. And then Narad Muni very nicely, very expertly, he he described his own characteristic, his own biography of life by taking the self, by taking the what is the allegorical story of King um, Puranjanas, the king Puranjana, the king of the body, and he's trying to explain his own life in a very political way, so that he understand that, because a king is always in a mode of passion or sometime in a mode of ignorance, and they always in having unlimited desire, and they for having unlimited desire means having unlimited fruitive activity. And when person is engaged in this kind of service, then it's very hard for them to explain the spiritual knowledge. So he's explaining in a very diplomatic way, by taking the shelter of King Puranjana's story, and he's explaining this. So before we explain, we get into this one. The 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 chapter, the canto 3, the chapter 7, and the uh, verse number 5. It is clearly explains by Prabhupada that soul is a pure consciousness. Soul is a pure consciousness, and pure consciousness can never be disappear. It's always there. Even when the body get transmigrated, the consciousness never goes. Consciousness always be there. So even in this present life, we can experience that. If I'm moving from West Auckland to the Radha Girdhari temple, right? We know from the place. I know my own identity. I know the place. I know my position. And when I'm transporting myself to the point B, to Radha Girdhari temple in Kumyu, that time also I have my personal identity. I have my position. I know my identity. Um, Places where I'm going. So if you see in this just only half an hour journey, I know my past, I know the present, and I know the future. So the goal is clear that I'm going to temple. So during this transit time, we are aware of our identity, which is the false identity, right? And that is related with the body. But when we that is that what I'm trying to say, that the identity, the false identity is there, but the real identity, when a person can remember the false identity, then how can he not remember the real identity, which is the spiritual identity? Because we are influenced by the material energy of the Lord. When we are influenced by the material energy of the Lord, we forget about our real identity. So this is how it happens with the Puranjana. Puranjana becomes affected by the external energy of the Lord, and when he walks in a forest, he becomes um, attracted by the woman. So having attraction between male and female is not a bad thing. But what has happened that he is not seeing the spiritual spark which is going on in the woman. And he just see the external covering of the body. And he gets attracted by this body, and he's trying to praise about the woman. But Prabhupada says, no, very first line in the first chapter says that everyone thinks that my intelligence is perfect, right? Every one of us is saying that my intelligence is perfect, which is very much true. And because we are under the influence of Maya, and that's why we think that everyone think that my intelligence is perfect, right? But uh, sorry. And that's how and that's why the people engage. Sorry, Krishna. Everyone thinks like my intelligence is perfect, which is the biggest mistake that people of this modern civilization do not understand. And um, and for having beautiful good looking wife, sometimes people engage their intelligence in worshipping um, uh, Uma Devi. Or for best quality of high education like Brahma, some people may worship Saraswati Devi. Or for good opulence and money, some people worship the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi. I remember one of the episode of my life that when I was young, my father used to take us to the Mahalakshmi temple in Mumbai. If anyone from Mumbai, they would know that. So I used to go, and unfortunately, he never got any benefit from going there. And all the time he had poverty. So the reason why, because he did not know how we should worship um, Lakshmi Devi, and he did not know how what mantra should be used to please the Lakshmi Devi. And after offering the obeisances, after giving some charity in a box, we used to go out and eat um, Mahalakshmi Vada, very famous. And so do not know if we are going to, I do not know if we were going there for getting some benediction from goddess of fortune or eating vada. That I wasn't knowing. But the essence to show that how under the mode of patience and ignorance, like Puranjana, where the intelligence should be applied. So how the intelligence where should be applied, that we did not know. But people like Puranjana, under the mode of passion and ignorance, become bewildered and do not know how to employ his intelligence. Intelligence should be employed in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as per the Bhakti Vinod Thakur. In this, in his Vaishnava song, writes, "E mana dulabh manav deho priya पैया की कोरो बावना के हो एबे न भजिले यशोदा सूता चरमे पोइबे लाजे." Translation of this verse is, we have achieved a rare human body with higher intelligence, and we do not care for this gift. If we don't worship the beloved of Sri of son of Yasoda now, then great sorrow awaits at the time of death. But as soon as we uses our intelligence in the service of the Lord Vishnu, then goddess of fortune automatically becomes favorable. See, the Prabhupada, when we just read the Lilamrit, it just strikes to my mind that how Prabhupada, just because he was engaging, he was doing his service to Krishna, and through him, through his behavior, he inspired so many people to engage in his service. This is how the Krishna consciousness works. When we engage ourselves in the service, then other people also gets engaged, and they also get influenced, and they also get inspired by for the service. But the service begins first with us, first with me. When I start, then the other will follow. That's how our Gurudev has teach. That's how Prabhupada has teach. That's how Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has teach. So it has to begin first with me. Then the rest will fall in place. Now, we have also witnessed how the goddess of fortune favored Kadam Kanan Mara. The goddess of fortune favored our beloved, beloved Prana Prabhu, who devoted entire their life in the service of Lord. How they renounced everything and took the center of Queen Vrindavan and beautifully left his world for the world to Krishna's abode. This is a very good lesson for all of us. My Gurudev says in a Jad Bharat Maharaj story that Brahmana should leave his body in a Vrindavan, in a Vrajadam, and a Kshatriya should leave his body in a Ran. So most of us are Brahmana. It's a good lesson for all of us. Are we prepared to leave our body in a house, or are we prepared to leave our body in a dham? Sorry. Also, another classic example that Prabhupada had exhibited. He employed his intelligence in the service of his Guru, Radha Krishna, to spread the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Western world. He took a risk at his very old age, and with a great devotion, austerity, and penance to Lord Krishna, he emerged victorious, which we all have witnessed. The whole Krishna conscience movement flourished in his presence, and it is still flourishing in the present age, which proves the goddess of fortune automatically become favorable when we employ our intelligence in the service of Lord. This Krishna conscious movement has moved heart of so many people, and so many people are still waiting to be moved. And we need this kind of preaching service in every street, in every town, and every of the country. I'm sorry, I become too much bhavuk. The another example that Dhruva Maharaj exhibited, a very young prince become very upset with his father for not learning, for not letting him sit on his lap. He took a shelter of great devotee, our beloved Narad Muni, and he took a vow to worship Lord Vishnu to overcome the feeling of inadequacy. Though his intense penance and devotion, he not only gained the benediction of Lord Vishnu, but also received the kingdom of greater than his own father. This story illustrates that when a sincere devotee takes shelter of a pure devotee of the Lord and under his direction, when employ his intelligence in the service of the Lord, the goddess of fortune become favorable automatically. But one who does not worship Lord Vishnu, then what happens? He employs his intelligence like Puranjana in a sense gratification, like King Prachin Barisar. He employs in a sense gratification his intelligence. Then he becomes a thief in the eye of Lord Vishnu and he receives all sorts of misery in his life. Example Ravana, who wanted to enjoy the goddess of fortune, Sita Devi, without Lord Ram, and he resulted in vanquishing his with his whole family, wealth, and opulences. Another good example is Hiranyakashipu, who gave all sorts of trouble to his own son Prahlad Maharaj, who was worshipping Lord Vishnu. But Prahlad Maharaj, with his undivided devotion to Lord Vishnu, protected him, and Lord Vishnu destroyed the Hiranyakashipus that we have all seen. Prabhupada also mentions in the purport that Puranjana represents our intelligence. When we reflect our past life, many of us had some attraction to beauty and shyness of girls, and girl had some attraction of the handsomeness of the boy, like Puranjana, attracted by beauty, and girl attracted by the and like Puranjana attracted by the beauty of the girl and his shyness. Right? Prabhupada quotes on the second Feb, it says, the beauty of a woman can conquer the handsome man, but the same beauty cannot conquer the God. To conquer the God requires pure devotional service. So, Puranjana is inquiring at the same time, Puranjana is inquiring with that beautiful woman to become her husband and enjoy the sense gratification, which is an example of Bhogicha, the desire for enjoyment. Krishna, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says the Krishna Bahirmukha. No, it's not Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's I think uh, Prema Vivrata. Krishna Bahirmukha Hana Bhoga Vancha Kare Nikatastha Maya Tare Japatya Dare. So Maya Tare Japatya Dare. It is said in Prema Vivrata that when a living entity wants to enjoy material nature, he is immediately victimized by the material energy. A living entity is not forced to come into his material world, but he makes his own choice by being attracted by beauty of a woman or by beauty of a handsome boy. So, which I believe is very much true. So, I did based on this purport. I did some of the interview at like some of the people at work met and at my work and try to see how the purport relates with the people who are not a devotee of the Lord. I also try to understand the purport, how it relates with my own life. How am I? Where am I situated with regards to the statements given in the purport? So I first like to share the interview which I did with couple of people. So the first person is a seasoned girl, which is from Nepal, and I tried to ask him the question that if you have gotten intelligence, if your intelligence is perfect, then she said yes. Then I asked the question, can you prove that your intelligence is perfect? Then she said, well, I'm doing my work rightly. I got my all the happiness that I want, and there is no complaint. That means what I'm doing my work is perfect. That's how she explained. Then and then she asked, he used the word that she's happy. And I said, are you really happy? Then she said, yes, I'm really happy, man. I'm a really happy person. Then what had happened that in the same day, um, at the airport on Terminal 2. some bins was filled with the garbage, and some of the other workmen passing by took a photo of the garbage bin filled with that garbage bin and send a photo to the supervisor. So supervisor come running and and they complained about that person, that he's saying you're not doing your job properly. And then they had some argument, and then frustration came and she started crying, right? So this is the position of a conditioned soul, who can't perceive how material energy works and what is the real happiness. Then I ask another person. It's very interesting, the second person one. When I question what you are understanding, or what do you understand by the happiness, then his reflection is exactly like Srimad Bhagavatam. Nice wife, nice house, nice children, nice car, nice phone. And to maintain that, he was working 15 hours a day, two shift, morning 6 to 2 and evening 4 to 11 or 4 to 12, something like that, and then have a couple of hours sleep and come back again in the next day morning 6 o'clock. Then I warn that person, you better don't play around with your body. This is not going to be long lasting work, it's going to hurt you. But then that person didn't realize. He said, I'm young, I'm in 30s, I can take the stress, I can handle the stress. So what had happened, after 2 or 3 months later, at the morning break time, he collapsed and he fall down. He become unconscious. Then immediately they had to call ambulance, take him to the hospital, and he got treated. He become recovered within a week, and then come back after a week or 2 week later. He come back to work, and um, I asked him, how are you feeling now? He says, yes, I'm feeling much better. He was saying, I'm feeling much better, but he was feeling much better. And um, I said, "Are you still going to continue your second job?" And he said, "No, no, no, I'm not going to continue second job." So that this again, it made me so pleased when I was reading the same canto, chapter 25, verse and the verse number 4, where Prabhupada says that that time will never allow to enjoy anything permanently, and to enjoy something we must undergo the suffering. This fellow, the same thing, he was going to the suffering, and that he did not realize, and the time did not allow to enjoy him permanently. you know when I'm trying to explain this philosophy, he listens but he doesn't understand. He does believe in God, but he doesn't want to accept it. No, he doesn't want to accept the principle of the God. So my duty was to just explain and say the philosophy what Krishna says, but then it is up to Krishna for him to let him understand his philosophy and attract to his own Krishna consciousness. So I did my duty, but he did not get attracted. It's unfortunate. Now this is how the position. But at the same time, I would like to my own story. My own realization in 2016-17, when I was building a house that was completely under the mode of passion. Yes, I had went to, as Prabhupada said, you go to have the enjoyment of house. I went through so much of trouble with the council, builder, finance, time, work, and to balance everything was not an easy task. I had too much of trouble. What happened? Am I enjoying my house? It's not permanently. As Prabhupada said, the time will never allow you to enjoy anything permanently. Now I'm sitting in Melbourne and enjoying Prana Prabhu's house. But anyway, that house wasn't a house, it was a temple. We were worshipping Radha Krishna and we were having a good time there. It's not that I did not enjoy. But then trying to make an essence here, that Prabhupada writes in his purport is very, very much true, and it's making in every life that to realize it, that time will never allow us to enjoy anything permanently. What we can enjoy permanently is our eternal happiness. What I'm doing now, that will make me happy, always happy. Yes. So and as mentioned in the purport, this material world is also a goddess of fortune, because the goddess of fortune works under the direction of Lord Vishnu. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse number 10. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sa characharam. When I read this in this purport, then I realize how true this is. Everyone wants to enjoy the material creation to the best of their capacity, but without having Lord Vishnu in their life, They do not know their own identity. They do not know who created this world and what is their relationship with the creator, and hence they are entangled in repeated birth and death. Today the temperature was yesterday, that today means yesterday was the temperature was more than 36, 38 degrees. So I brought some watermelon for the Radha Krishna's pleasure. The same time some of the workmen had nice alcohol to enjoy the weather. This is the difference between the devotee and a non-devotee. When I this is not I'm trying to say about the my own pleasure. This is just trying to see the difference between the person who is devoted to Krishna and person who is not devoted to Krishna, how their mentality gets attracted by the external energy of the Lord. When I reflect my own life in my youth, during the college life, I was exactly like Puranjana, getting attracted by the beauty of and shyness of the girl. But thank God, I'm so thankful of the God that I did not do anything against the law of scripture. Another great example of Srila Prabhupada. In his young age, he was not happy with his wife, Karunamai. She was very beautiful, she was very chaste, but Prabhupada did not like her. So Prabhupada was prepared to have another wife of his own choice. But when he discussed his this when he discussed this thought with his father, who was another great devotee of the Lord, then his father, and who gave him a good advice, he's saying that rather than doing another marriage, rather accept her as a blessing of the Lord Krishna, because of your dislike with her, you will not be attached to the house, you will not be attached to her, you will not be attached to children, and this will help you advance in Krishna consciousness. Should Prabhupada not listen to this, his father, in his young age, where when he was in a great mode of passion, he would have end up having different life. But because he took the advice of his father, which resulted in complete liberation from worldly attachment and devoted his life to Krishna consciousness and emerged as a Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Prabhupada. I was reading the Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj quote, which comes every day from Rajkot temple. He says Krishna becomes very pleased when he gives us discomfort. He gives us some punishment. So we call it as a punishment, or we call it some discomfort or some sort of pain. It gives to the devotee. When a devotee gets it, he accepts it. And when we accept it, we tolerate it, and we still continue doing our service to Lord Krishna. So what will happen? The same thing with Prabhupada. Prabhupada was not happy with his wife, but he accepted as per his father's advice. He tolerated, and he became immune to the difficult situation. So when we also become immune to the difficult situation, then what happens? Krishna becomes pleased. When Krishna becomes pleased, then he comes and helps. He comes and definitely helps. And that's how Prabhupada, even though it's not only this his wife's situation, he had so many difficulty, even at the young in a very old age when he started his journey to Western world. He had so many difficulty, but he becomes so much immune to the difficulty, and he emerged such a victorious person. And now we are also enjoying uh, his dynasty, his ISKCON society, So yeah. So in conclusion, I take this opportunity to thank Prabhupada for his courageous decision and help me to say few words about his glorification in connection with his word in these words and purport, and encourage me to lead my life in Krishna consciousness to become an eternal servant of the Lord Krishna. Right. So in conclusion, no one is perfect. No one has perfect intelligence. No one has perfect senses. All our intelligence is perfect. All our intelligence senses are definitely imperfect. But what happens is when we employ, as per the Prabhupada's suggestion given in this purport, if we employ our intelligence and our senses in the service of the Lord, Radha Krishna, Radha Vallabhji, who is perfect, his intelligence perfect, his senses are perfect. When we employ our intelligence and senses in his service, then then we become purified and we become purified and pure devotee. And becomes purified, and we all will be blessed by the goddess of fortune and get out of this real problem of birth and death, old age and disease. Otherwise, we can enjoy the Maya bestowed upon the living entity by the Lord Vishnu, the satisfaction of the senses, the satisfaction of one's senses, and the desire means enjoying Maya, not the goddess of fortune. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. I apologize for getting too much bhavuk. This is my nature. I don't know how do I come out of it, but I've tried my best. Any comments and any realization or anything that I could improve in my future life conversation, please share your thoughts. I may not have completed an entire 30 minutes, but I don't know. I just carried on with my lecture. Please share.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandot Pranam.
Dhanwad pranam, Prabhu. Dhanwad pranam.
At beginning, you started with the essence from the Lila Amrita and
Yeah,
continued with, with the touching each and every point.
yeah,
Really, very, very nicely and attracted at least me. Yeah, you have pointed out the essence, which are the point, milestones of this
yeah,
text. You really touched that, and you give
yeah,
so much example and your experiences with other people, how they
yeah,
react, and connecting your thought with this
yeah,
text is really wonderful. You have done a very good job and concluded in such a way. It really makes us feel that is what it is. How Srila Prabhupada in the beginning of life, in the middle of life, and the end of life. He
yeah,
continued his service towards the welfare of all mankind, and
yeah.
still we are enjoying his legacy. And
Yes,
with this understanding, we should employ our intelligence in the right perspective. As Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the Lilamrita, you need,
Nilamrita. Yeah,
you need to start. Don't
yeah,
worry about the perfection.
yeah,
Perfection will automatically come when
yeah,
you get attached to that.
yeah,
So doing that, and as you mentioned, that in every moment Krishna tests us. If we
yes,
become immune to that,
yeah,
Krishna will definitely shower his mercy, and
yeah,
one day we'll be successful. So not
yeah,
to get upset with that, with the small things happening in our life, and that
yeah,
is it. And time
yeah,
will automatically heal us everything. So
yeah.
be patient and be correct your intelligence in
Yeah,
the service of Krishna. Everything will
true.
fall in place. Thank you
Very
so
much
much
true.
for a nice class.
Thank you, Prabhu. I had been given more than 6, 7 weeks to prepare, and that's how every day was thinking, how can I present myself? How do I do it nicely? This is not for my own pleasure. This is for the pleasure of Sri Gurudev, So I tried, and yes, the sometimes the some hiccups comes in our life, but that we if we think in a solitude and we think upon it, it's Krishna is trying to give some message, so, to get us become perfect in our spiritual journey, but we do not realize, and when we take it up with the bodily platform, then that's where we become then that anxiety becomes more and more dense. But when we think from the spiritual point of view, then that is lead us to the perfection of life, and it attracts more and more towards Krishna. That is what I've realized in the past few weeks. Yes, the discomfort of the body, discomfort of the situation arises, but then Krishna is trying to test us. How am I getting immune to this difficult situation? And he's the only one who gives the solution as well. But we
Yes.
don't have an eye, because see, I just share another thing, that I've been having IBS attack for the past more than 7, 8 weeks, and I'm not getting cured for the normally within a week or two I get cured, but this time it took more than 8 weeks, and I thought now my life is gonna end. I'm going definitely gonna end. But Krishna speaks to Bhagavatam, Krishna speaks to Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks through the devotee's mouth, who are dedicating their life. So the devotee came into my visited my house and said, look, when Ayurveda do not work, you have to still resort to the allopathy and go to the doctor. So I wasn't even going to the doctor. I was sustaining the pain and thinking that it will become somehow cured. But I wasn't going. And then the devotee said, it's a very good friend. He said, better you go to doctor and get some advice. So I went and I took an advice and did a little bit work, but did not help. Then again I took advice of Ayurveda doctor. He also did not help me much. Then one day, what happened? I went for a service and I told, prayed Krishna, Krishna, I want to really go for your service and I want to do this cooking service for you. Please do not give me any urge to go to the toilet because I'm in a dhoti and I can't do that and I wouldn't be able to serve you nicely. So I could do my service nicely, but at the same time, he made me to bump in with the devotee. And he said, why you become so senior? I said, I was losing my weight because of this problem. And he said, it is a simple biome problem that is in your gut. You don't have enough good bacteria. The bad bacteria is risen and is giving you trouble. Better take some probiotic with prebiotic and it will have. And I listened to him and I started taking that probiotic and prebiotic and it started working on me and I'm started recovering. So this is how Krishna works.
Yeah, really. It is a very good example. It's a personal experience.
Yeah.
The slide is the right approach of putting your intellect in the right direction. That's
Yes.
why you see in the Puranjana story, King Puranjana, he was just roaming around and he doesn't
Yeah.
know what to do. So the testing time and with different examples
Yeah.
and your experiences, slowly and steadily get the right direction. And
Yeah.
as the example shows, ultimately you got the right direction, and that is it was the waiting.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your kind example and experience sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, bro.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very
Not
much.
Pranam.
Thank you. You have done very nicely. Thank you for that. And just a few comments on that. The first is that, as you told, when we the as you told initially, there's some hesitations and in the beginning of anything what you are trying to do, but
Yeah.
ultimately it is Krishna's mercy that allows us to sail smoothly because His mercy is ultimately necessary. And
Yeah.
you have in your life, you have told very nicely that the experience, the knowledge you have gained from Krishna consciousness, you have applied it in your personal life.
Yeah.
So you are getting benefited and you are in the right direction. There is no doubt about that. And in this Bhagavatam class also, what you have told is your initial apprehension and all that. That comes
Yeah.
in the beginning of anything because we're
Yeah.
in this material world, but ultimately Krishna helps his devotees.
Yeah.
And when Krishna's mercy uh, happens, often from the material point of view, we cannot understand and how it is working. But if we have faith on Krishna, ultimately uh, everything, all these obstacles, we can overcome.
Yeah.
Uh, Maybe sometimes it is a bit hard in the material sense, but ultimately, when a person is attached to Krishna or remain connected to Krishna, all his material problems he can overcome because Krishna, he is the most powerful and the most uh, he is the most Bhakta Vatshal. He
Yeah.
takes care of his devotees so in such a way that in our material way we may not understand it, but
Yeah. True.
he has the best course for his devotees. And
Yeah.
as a devotee, I hope Lord has given you has your mercy on you, and you can go well, very well. There is no
Yeah.
doubt about that.
Yeah. Thank you
So
so
don't
much,
worry
Prabhu.
about that. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
So it appears, Prabhuji, there is no other person to make any comments.
Thank you.
So you can conclude the class.
So,
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
Vibhacha Kripa
kripa
Sindhu
sindhubhyo
Patitanam
patitanam
Pavanebhyo
pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Ananta
Ananta
Koti
Koti
Vaishnava
Vaishnava
Vrinda
Ki
Ki
Jai.
Jai.
His
His
Grace
Grace Purushottam Prabhu ki jai. Srila
Thank you.
Prabhupada
Prabhupada
ki
ki
jai.
jai.
Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All
Bo-
glories to assembled devotees. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Very nice class, Prabhu.